Today's lesson, lesson 5 on the atmosphere, is dealing with the transfer of heat in our atmosphere. A couple things that we're going to want to look at is some of the NASA stuff that I have, where we actually see the heat transferred uh, through our atmosphere. This is an example right here of just a regular car in the city, and the three types of transferring of energy is our convection, conduction, and radiation. Well, if you look at a car as far as it's the gas flow out of the exhaust pipe, this is convection because it's actually letting the warm air out and it rises out of the exhaust pipe. Now, if you actually were to touch it, that's conduction. Conduction is when you can feel the heat being conducted through the metal into another object. When you look at uh, the air vents, they are part of convection as well because they're moving air. They're moving the cooler, hopefully, on a hot day. Um, when you look at, say, the dark seats, the heated seats, those tend to conduct your heat. They're, when you're touching it, you can feel the heat moving through that. When you look at a sunroof or something, that helps radiate um, the heat. It allows it allows the heat to come through, and it radiates down either into the car or radiates out of the car. The convection part is when you open it and it causes it to move. Uh, that little light on the mirror, if you have one, or when the dome light, that's radiation as well. If you ever put your fingers up by it, you can actually feel a little bit of heat being given off by that. And then with the engine, with the fan and the water cooling your engine, that's trying to change the temperature. It's trying to move air, so it's convection. Now there's another example right here. This one's a little bit easier to see, like if you're on the beach. If we look at radiation, for example, one of the ways that energy is moved and transferred. Well, that's just the heat from the sun. If you look down on the bottom right, the heat from the flame on that pot. If you think of convection, um, convection is just that movement of the air, cool air sinking, warm air rising, that whole convection current that we've talked about with the atmosphere, and we talked about it with the mantle. But if you look at the picture on the right too, they have uh, the water being heated, and then the hot water rises, gets to the surface, and then it starts to cool quickly and it goes down. As far as conduction goes, the last way the heat's transferred, uh, you can feel the heat in the sand. And if you look in the bottom right, you got that pan that has um, the handle usually has protection on it because the heat will heat the pan and go up through the handle, and that's conducting the heat all the way through. Um, so those are kind of um, the ways that we do see uh, heat transfer. Now, if you look in your book on page 513 through 515, and you read those pages, it does give a little bit more detailed information about what we're talking about. But um, on this page, when you start to look at just the underlined words, it just talks about the sun's energy. And it doesn't stay in a place forever. It's moved from one place to another. And we need that to happen for weather to occur. Since that heat can get moved, it is a key component in making our weather. Now, radiation, uh, that's energy from the sun. We know that it travels in the form of waves called radiation. Well, it's the only way that the energy can get transferred through space. Conduction and convection doesn't happen in space, but energy can be transferred through space in the form of waves and radiation. And thankfully, because we wouldn't have the heat from our sun. Conduction, another form of way it's transformed or transferred, is when two things are touching. When you touch a flame, heat is conducted from the flame to your finger, and you pull it away, and it hurts. You can feel that warmth of uh, of the carpet in your house as the sunlight's coming through the window and it's landing on the floor. You can feel the conduction of heat. And then you have convection. That's that circulation. It's the movement of energy circulating, warm air rising, cool air settling. This picture right here is a perfect example. You've got your pot, you've got the fire. You can see the heat is radiating off in forms of waves. The water is boiling, so there's convection there. Heat rises, hits the surface, and it cools as it hits the air, and it starts to sink, and you get this convection circular motion. And then you have conduction in the handle of the pot. The heat runs through the pot, up through the handle, and into your hand. You're touching it. It moves it on through. So when you start to think of the three types of way that heat is transferred, you have this guy. He's a radiation. This guy, he's conduction. We have the cheese, the grilled cheese, actually on the pan. Let's see if there's some other ones. Here's more radiating heat coming out. This one right here, where we are laying out in the sun, that guy is more of the radiation. We're touching the flame here. And this one right here, I think you can see the heat rising and cooling in a teapot. That's more convection. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. So in review, we're looking at the three ways that heat is transferred through our atmosphere. It's convection, conduction, and radiation. Simply, convection is the circular motion of heat rising and cooling and sinking. Conduction is when you are actually two objects are touching and heat is conducted from one into another. And radiation is the heat being transferred in the form of waves. So hopefully you got something out of this. Read those pages out of your book, and that's the three ways that heat's transferred through our atmosphere.